Welcome back, everybody. So today is a super exciting day for the channel. I'm finally got into the yak game. We have the mini boat, and now we have a kayak. So I wanted to get a kayak just for some of those waters that are even skinnier that you can't really get through with the trolling motor all that well, and the ones that are just absolutely loaded with trees and lumber. So figured I would go ahead and get into the yak game, and it makes it a little bit easier as far as um, loading, unloading, and getting in and out of a fishing day a little bit faster than even the mini boat is. But after doing a little bit of a review online, this is kind of what I ended up with. I didn't want to buy a super expensive kayak, and they do get into the multi-thousands. So I ended up with this Catch Mode 110 from Pelican. Um, and for the most part, I saw pretty decent reviews online. So I ended up buying it for just under $800, but I ended up buying it online with promo code. They got me another 10% off, so relatively decent price from what I can see and understand. It had most of the features that I kind of thought I wanted. Obviously, I'm a beginner, never been in a fishing kayak before in my life, so I guess it's trial by fire, and we'll see kind of what we like, what we don't like, and do a little bit of a review. Again, I am an absolute novice at this, so if there's any way to customize or anything that I need for my kayak, by all means, drop comments down below. I'd love to read those to, figure out if there's anything that I can do to make, experience on the water even better. But let's get into it. So I'll drop some specs above, but for the most part, the Catch Mode 110 is a 10-foot 8-inch, I believe, kayak. Pretty lightweight from, again, the limited amount of research that I did for it. It's a little bit over like 65 pounds or something like that. But yeah, fits perfectly in the back of a truck. Super easy for one person to handle too. And that's kind of what I wanted, like as minimal maintenance and difficulty with getting into the water as possible. So that is that. I still do have to buy a decent life jacket. I've got a cheap one today. So if there's any decent options, or if there's like pros and cons to life jackets, by all means drop those in the comments down below. I'll be searching for that next. But that being said, let's go through some of the things that it has. So for some of the features that I did like about it, so in the front, it's got a little bit of a netting with bungees so that you can go ahead and tie down like tackle box or anything that you're bringing along with. It's got foot pedals that from what I read, are supposed to be able to accommodate a relatively tall person. I'm not incredibly tall by any means, so we'll see how that goes. They have plenty of carrying handles, which I liked. Super easy to tie down. The seat apparently is pretty comfortable from what I've read from people. I did want more rod holders. So this one actually has 3 on it, which it seems pretty decent. Most of them have 2. And then we've got some bungees in the back also. That'll kind of tie down anything you need if you get a crate or anything else like that. We also have some bungees for cup holders. I don't know if that's much of a feature that other ones don't, but that is nice. And then it does have some scupper holes in case you end up with some water inside your kayak. I do have them all plugged right now. I hope I don't get wet. The water is still quite cold. And then my version is actually the TR, which has a trolling motor mount on the transom. So not all of them have it. Some of them have the skag to kind of help you track a little bit better in the water. But again, with me trying to be as low profile as possible and avoid, trees and stuff in the water, going through lily pads, fields and whatnot, I didn't feel like that was uber necessary, but I guess we'll see if that was a mistake or not. So I guess for the most part, that's kind of, I'm sure there's probably many more features in here that I didn't speak about. Obviously they do have tracks in case you want any sort of accessories or anything like that, but I'm sure there's probably more than that. But I guess from here, let's get out on the water and see what it feels like out there, because that's probably the most important thing. So for the most part, pretty easy to get into. Paddling feels fine. there isn't very much wind right now, so I mean that isn't saying much because I think most kayaks would probably do fine in this amount of wind or this amount of waves, but it feels nice for the most part. Doesn't feel tippy by any means, but yeah. A skid would have definitely made it track a little bit better, but at the same time, that's not necessarily what I wanted. So I don't really have, it feels nice, but I guess the real test is, you know, is for fishing. So let's get a rod and see if we can't catch a fish on it. The water is super cold though today. So it looks nice, but all right, and here we go. Nothing like filling a kayak full of water to begin with. One thing I did notice paddling though is that there is a bit of play in the seat, from like the seat to the edge of the kayak, and some people talked about that as to where you can like turn a little bit and it will shift, which I guess can be a little unnerving for the most part, but I don't think it'll by any means tip you in. But I think you could either give a little bit of texture to those edges by either spraying them with some sort of like rubberized coating so that they would stick a little bit better, or you could probably just fill in that gap with a spacer of some sort. So let's start here. Now I guess that is what that is for, to hold the paddle. So let's get casting. And again, I'm not like a super tall guy by any means, but the foot pedals definitely go a lot further than my legs can go. So I would assume for a 6'2", a 6'3" guy, you probably still have plenty of space. I guess another thing I didn't really talk about either is this seat has the ability to flip down and give you a little bit more height too. The water is super cold though right now. I mean, like mid 40s, so I'm not really wanting to experiment too much because I don't want to end up in the water. But we'll see how bold we get by the end of the trip, how comfortable. Just throwing a little Mini Max chatterbait, one of my favorite baits for little ponds. If you've ever watched my videos before, I absolutely love them. I think they work phenomenally well. All right, nothing on our point, so let's keep going. Oh, got one. Just like that. Got our first one in the kayak. Little one, little one. That is fighting. Oh, look at that. Not a bad fish. Not a big one. Maybe a little bit over a pound. Fat though. So weird this little pond gets, I mean, you have so many fish that are healthy like this, and then you have a fair number that are just like skinnier than skinny, that like you'd think they are stunted. But there we go. Our first fish in the kayak. Oh, there we go. That's exciting. I didn't think we'd, with as cold as the water is today, I didn't think we'd catch much, to be honest. Or I thought we'd have to work a lot harder, not 5 minutes in a kayak, but let's go see if we can't get another one. Oh, got another one. 2 fish, 3 casts. Not a big one either. Just a little bit smaller. It definitely does take a little bit of, I assume, skill to go ahead and cast appropriately and work with the wind and whatnot, but we'll get with the learning curve. There we go, number 2. This is fun. But let him go. How many are we gonna catch today? I feel like I'm a little lucky already. Wind's starting to pick up a little bit. I don't know if that was a bite or not. Oh, there was. Little guy. Is he little? He's fighting like he's not little. No, it's not a big one. I have to learn how to land fish in a kayak. There we go. Oh, just popped out. He nipped at it once and then I dropped it and reeled a little bit slower and picked it back up. That's 3. This is awesome. I don't think I'd like it this much. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a nuanced thing and take it out in only a couple places, but I like this. We were getting a little bit more wind, so this is where, obviously, if we were all fitted out and had an anchor or even a skeg, I'm sure it would limit the amount of paddling that we would have to do, but I guess it's good to see it, you know, I guess figure out how it would work, I guess, in a little bit more wind. It's supposed to pick up quite a bit today. I don't know if I'll be out fishing that long, but it's supposed to get up to 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, which I assume probably wouldn't be the most fun fishing, but we'll see. We'll see how well it handles and see if we want to stay out. But well, since we are on shore, why not go ahead and try and test out sitting on the elevated platform. Definitely a little more tippy up here, which is why I'm not sure I would want to try standing. I don't know that I want to end up in the lake today with the water temps in the mid-40s. Definitely does give you a higher vantage point though. See if we can't catch a fish like this, but I feel, at least right now, I feel much more comfortable sitting in the actual seat versus the platform. And standing, I do not think is in the question. Is a question today. Oh yeah. I have to imagine this is probably somewhat decent of a core and stability exercise. Let's try it. We're 3/4 of the way up. Let's just try and stand. Oh, this is a little trippy. Definitely don't know if I have the coordination for this. Especially setting the hook into a fish also. I think I'll definitely do most of my fishing sitting. We can stand in the midi boat. This one I don't think so much. Well, we just paddled across the entire pond, which this isn't a big pond, it's only about 17 acres. But against the wind, it's not the easiest. It wasn't awful, but this kayak is supposed to be a lot more for stability, so I guess that makes sense. But I definitely could see if you were fishing all day long how this would get a little bit tiring. But you do have the opportunity to put a trolling motor on the back. So there is that, if that's something that I guess would interest you. But I guess for me, obviously I would take out the mini boat if I was wanting to use the trolling motor and whatnot, but it is still an option. And then obviously you can get much more expensive as far as kayaks go and get some with pedal drives and whatnot too. So, but for this one, not terrible. Obviously paddling against 8 to 10 mile an hour winds is not the easiest no matter what you do, but let's see if we can't end up with one more fish before we head back. So just for the sake of demonstration, I put a little bit of water in the boat to kind of show what the scupper holes are actually for. So essentially they're supposed to not let water into the kayak, but allow it to escape. So if you end up taking on some water for whatever reason, or if it's raining or something like that, all you have to do is go ahead and pull these, and all that water just drains out. There'll be just a tiny little bit in the boat, but that's just because obviously of where it sits on the water line. But pretty neat little feature. I didn't really know that kayaks did that. Again, I'm a beginner, so I have never been in a kayak that's ever had those, but pretty neat little thing. Oh, got one. Oh, I missed it. Shoot. Had him. Of course, my last fish, the GoPro died, so we will get him, little guy, unhooked and let him go, and then we'll do a final review. So we were out on the water for about 2 hours between paddling around and fishing, and I couldn't be happier, honestly. Ended up catching a couple fish, which was great, out of the kayak for the first ones. That was wonderful. I thought we'd have to work a little bit harder just because of how cold the water was, but I guess they were a little bit more aggressive today. As far as the kayak goes, it checks all my boxes. Again, I'm a beginner, so I don't know the ins and outs of a kayak, or what I would like to change, but it did well as far as everything that I wanted to do goes. Paddling into the wind was a little bit more difficult, but being a wider kayak, that's just, I guess, part of it. You do have the opportunity to put a trolling motor on the back again, but for me, I want it to be something a little bit more low profile that I can take into like really, really skinny waters and not have to worry about dinging up a blade or anything like that with a trolling motor. So, but I know one concern that people have with kayaks, reading on the internet, I guess, is back pain from sitting in them for a while. I wasn't out there too long, but in the 2 hours, I didn't get any back pain. So I guess take that for what it's worth. But and as far as durability goes, it does have the Ram X on there, which is supposed to be pretty durable. Obviously, time will tell to see, once we bang it around on rocks and in the trees and whatnot, how that actually goes. But couldn't be happier. Again, I do need ideas as far as customizing this thing and like what to get as far as a kayak goes. So if you could drop comments down in the comment section below, that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll have to, I'm looking forward to getting this out into some other waters where I know there are some bigger fish and much less pressured, because there's nothing else that can get out to those lakes besides a kayak. So hopefully we end up getting into some big ones here not too terribly long. Spring is well on the way, so we'll have pre-spawn coming up, and then we'll have some bed fishing to do later in the year. But as always, if you guys liked the video, if you wouldn't mind liking, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like it, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, that'd be greatly appreciated also. Till the next one.